Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Tome Travelers, a science fiction fantasy book club podcast. Dylan's trying to mouth along with my intro. I think I beat him to it. This is episode 18. We are finishing up Six of Crows, which I swear I just had the book on me. Here it is, right here. Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. We just finished it. And so major spoiler warning for the book. If you haven't read it, go read it and then listen to our previous episodes, so you can get caught up on our discussion and our thoughts on the book. We're going to go ahead and announce next month's book, which is Dylan.
No, it's
Whitson.
Yeah.
The Black Prism by Brent Weeks.
Black Prism by Brent Weeks, which I don't have a copy of that, so I can't show it. But we're reading chapter 1 next week, right?
Mm-hmm. Chapter
or
1.
Next month, yeah. And so, yeah, if you want to read along with us, go ahead and grab yourself a copy or the audiobook and listen along, read along with us. Quick announcement is our Discord. As always, the description is in the bottom of the YouTube video in the description. And so if you want to join and be a part of our community, join up the Discord. Send us a ping. Say what's up. Say hi. Hello. How you doing? We
Submit a fantasy question.
Submit a fantasy question. Speaking of fantasy questions, our fantasy question this episode is, what is your favorite, or who is your favorite superhero? So I'll let one of y'all take this first.
I mean, I can go first.
Go for it.
Mine is Q from Justice League Unlimited.
I thought it was Batman.
Okay, any specific reason?
He's up there. He's up there. I usually like characters who aren't powered. Iron Man, Batman, Q. Q is just one of the more interesting ones. He's kind of like Rorschach a little bit. He's in the same vein.
That's fine.
Rorschach's up there too.
Yeah.
Just clever humans competing with people with godlike power. Cool to me.
Yeah. What about you, Dylan?
I've always been a big Robin fan, but specifically Dick Grayson. So it goes into Nightwing. So Nightwing
Right.
and then Dick Grayson, Robin.
Yeah, because there's, who are the different Robins? It's Dick Grayson and
Tim
There's
Drake. And,
Tim Drake, Dick Grayson,
Damian Wayne.
Damian Wayne. Yeah, Damian.
and Jason Todd,
Yeah, and Jason
Yeah.
Todd.
and then the girl.
Yeah, I think she's only in oh gosh, why can I not remember? There's like the Bat Who not the Bat Who Laughs. The Killing Joke, when Joker goes on like a homicidal rampage and like Batman's an old man. Dark Knight Returns, the comic, not the movie.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Have you seen the like the live action Titans TV show? Because I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that's Dick Grayson. Dude, it's a
Yeah, it's
solid
Dick Grayson.
solid super.
Yeah. The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller. Yeah.
I really like all the Robins. Like they all like when Jason Todd becomes Red Hood. That's pretty cool. And Tim Drake's really smart. Like he's a really good detective.
Yeah.
Damian
I
Wayne's
loved,
just a badass.
Kate Kane and Blue Jay, Batwoman and Blue Jay.
Yeah.
That was an awesome run. If any comic book nerds haven't read that, really good.
Yeah.
One of the first Batman movies I watched was the one with Riddler and Two-Face. Who was Batman? I think it was
It was Val Kilmer in that one.
was that one about Kilmer? And then it had Robin. It had
No,
like an old.
was that one George Clooney? Was that the first George Clooney Batman?
I think that was Clooney. That might
Might
have
be
been
getting
Clooney.
lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
But yeah, Batman's cool.
But anyways, that was one of the first ones I watched. So
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think my favorite superhero, I have just always been an Aquaman fan. And so, like, when I was a little kid, I would wake up early before school so I could watch the Aquaman cartoon. And then, like, I have some Aquaman comic books that I've read. And then Jason Momoa's Aquaman. I just love Aquaman. I'm literally in a D&D campaign right now where I'm playing a Triton Paladin. And I'm basically just Aquaman. So,
hell yeah.
I love him.
Basically, we're all agreeing that DC's better than.
100%. I'm in this boat. People will hate me, but I'm 100% in this boat.
Man, That's tough. I don't know. It depends. Comic books or movies, because like Marvel's movies are way better.
Oh well, yeah. No, I mean comic. I mean just
Yeah,
universes in general. Because like
yeah,
Marvel's movies are way better. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
but when
Marvel's
you think about it,
comics are
it's like,
more like hit or miss for me. Like they're either insanely good, like incredible, or like not that great.
right.
And DC, I think, is more like closer to their baseline usually, which is a little bit higher, I
I
think.
I just think though it's like comparing like all forms of medium. It's like, yes, Marvel has the best movies, but I think DC has the better animated shows.
Oh yeah. Oh
Arguably, the
yeah.
live action shows, better video games, better comic books, like better. There's more better DC than there is Marvel, and so I just think DC's better.
Yeah. Some
Side
Spider-Man
table.
runs make Marvel like
Oh yeah,
Superior Spider-Man puts Marvel like way up there for me. I fucking love
yeah,
Superior Spider-Man. Like Doc Ock takes over Peter Parker's body and just
yeah.
becomes like a warlord. So good.
Oh my gosh, we should do a like a bonus episode where we review a comic run or something like that. That'd be fun.
Oh yeah, my buddy Baron is an encyclopedia on comic books.
Oh, bet.
Yeah, he's got a show called Blurred Cave. Somebody or anybody who's interested in comics, check it out. It's Black Nerd. It's him and one of his buddies in LA, and they have interesting takes on like video games and comics and stuff, but encyclopedic knowledge of comics.
That's dope. Um, but yeah. So that's our fantasy question. If you have your own fantasy question that you want us answered, please, 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 please comment it down below, or join the Discord and send us a message on there, so we can get to answering yours on the podcast. But with that, we're gonna go ahead and jump into episode 18 of the Tome Travelers. All right. Dylan, are you hitting us with the synopsis this episode?
Yeah, yep. Quick little synopsis. We finished Six of Crows, part 4 through 6, which is the first book. I believe that there is a second book. It's a duology. But we got to see the heist that we've been building up to, with all the twists and turns. We learn a little bit more about Kaz's past, and see why he is the way he is to an extent. Nina takes a risky gamble, and we conclude on a double cross with the kidnapping of Inej, the Wraith.
The Wraith.
The Wraith. I thought this half was way better than the first half.
I agree.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. I enjoyed the heist. I thought it did a good job explaining most things. There's one big thing that I was not overly happy about that I'll get y'all's opinions on here in a minute. But as far as the heist and I liked a couple of the descriptions. I thought a couple of descriptions were pretty good. I still don't feel like we got a lot of our backstory stuff we wanted and character stuff we wanted. We got a little bit with Kaz. And it did open our eyes, or my eyes, to why he is the way he is, why he wears his gloves and all that. We see him become a little bit more human and his shell break, and which really lets us figure out his personality. But overall, like I said, I enjoyed the heist. It was I don't know, a good little if it was a little good little quick episode or something. I enjoyed it to that extent. What about y'all?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. We've said this in the past about books because we read so much dense that this was a very nice palate cleanser. And I think it does that job for me where it's it's a fun little read that I can still get immersed in it, but it's not taking my entire brain power to wrap myself around it. But I really enjoyed. I do think the second half was better than the first. It was interesting kind of to see some some of the character arcs, like between Kaz and Inej, I feel like they kind of flip flopped from the beginning of the book. Like Inej was where Inej takes like Kaz's place of like. So like at the beginning of the book, like Inej is kind of like lost, doesn't really know like who she is or whatever, and then kind of flip flops at the end and like figures out who she is, and Kaz is lost basically without her whenever she gets taken. So I thought that was neat. I thought that there's just some like little stuff like that made the book more enjoyable for me. But yeah, overall I enjoyed it. It was a good little read.
What about you, Whip?
I still didn't love it, but I came away from this half a little less annoyed and frustrated than the first half. And I promise I'm not going to complain in circles for half an hour again. Apologies for that. I went back and listened to it, and I was like, oh my god, I was being insufferable. But, hey, sorry, I've been working a lot of overtime, and I haven't been able to read at work. I get touchy about what's going on in my free time. That said, still, I was annoyed with myself. I have some genuinely positive points on my notes. Jerholm was described like in a lot more detail, and I liked that. Like I could legitimately picture what they were doing and where they were at.
Specifically, the prison and the incinerator shaft. For me, I thought those were really good descriptions of both of those.
Yeah, and the ice wall.
And the ice wall.
And it seemed like that was kind of a Wheel of Time. I mean, I don't know, the dragon eating its own tail thing, like the Ouroboros, is pretty common, but I thought that was cool. And the Sacred Ash Tree.
Yeah, Sacred Ash Tree. The lab.
Yeah, the lab and the Grisha holding cells, the secret bridge under the bridge to get to the island. All that stuff was pretty cool. I had some issues still. Mostly plot conveniences, though, not plot holes.
Yeah.
And I think that's a step up.
I think one of my biggest complaints still is the magic system, as far as like what these people can do, because it seemed to me like Nina was just fucking, like she's just walking through corridors, snapping people's necks, choking them, stopping them. Like she was so powerful. And it just seems like that is not how that was supposed to be, from what was previously described.
Right.
And if she is that powerful, like I feel like she can do a lot more than what she was doing.
Yeah, and in a very similar vein, Jesper just overpowers two Parim powered up Squallers. Or Tide Callers, I forget which.
And he has no clue how to use his powers and stuff.
Yeah, he just straight up overpowers two people on Jura Parim, which I thought was that was a little beyond convenient. You know, that was.
I love the twist that he was a Grecian. I love that.
Yeah, I like that too, and it seemed like Kaz had known that, and I didn't. That one wasn't like, ooh, this, I need this to happen for the plot to. No, like it seemed like she actually set that one up. Like why he was so valuable to Kaz, and why he had so much faith in Kaz, because Kaz was keeping that secret for him.
Yeah,
like that seemed pretty intentional, which I appreciated.
I really didn't have a big problem with the heist, except for the incinerator shaft was just a big thing for me, because. And correct me if I'm wrong, but they throw some cloth in there and it immediately bursts into flame.
Yeah.
And then Inej gets in there and her rubber shoes are melting to her body. I don't know, like if it's hot enough for clothes to immediately burst into flame and rubber to melt to a body, your body's not going to.
Yeah. I work in a kitchen. I use cloth rags as hot hands all the time. If they're even like a little damp, they will immediately steam and burn the shit out of you. If there's a hole in them, like if it's hot enough to light a rag on fire, you can't get within like a foot of it.
I'm a welder, and like I deal with very hot shit all the time. And
I work in a library, so I mean,
when they come in and start burning those books,
yeah, I mean, man, Fahrenheit 451 up here.
So the incinerator shaft was a big one for me, and that's probably like I don't know. A lot of people, it's probably way easier for them to blow past that than it is for us because we do deal with hot shit but like to melt rubber even like
It's got to be hot.
it's
Gotta be
hot.
And wasn't it
to
like
melt rubber?
the only reason like she survived or whatever because the rain cooled it or something?
I mean, look, you can reach into a 350-degree fryer with a rubber glove on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's got to be like 600 degrees in there to be well, I don't know. I mean, this is old school. Like their rubber wouldn't have been
Yeah.
that great.
But-
we're getting a little nitpicky.
Okay,
but it's just
It's like,
It's just very it's very like
if you deal with
to me,
hot
it's
metal
obvious.
all day,
Yeah, to me,
if you deal with
it's
hot metal
obvious.
all day, you read that and you just go, no.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, like they throw the cloth in there and it immediately bursts into fire. Like that's gotta that's a high like don't get me wrong, cloth it's easy to catch on fire, but to burst into fire,
I
like
mean, 700-800 degrees.
it's gotta be hot. I don't know about 700. I don't know the exact temperature, but like your body's like not meant for that heat. And she's climbing. She's touched. So the incinerator shaft around her is going to be scorching fucking hot, and she is touching it. I don't care that she's got these gloves on.
Yeah, especially Kaz's cloth gloves or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was my biggest one. The biggest one that like just made me roll my eyes, like the incinerator shaft. And I mean, I had that thought with the incinerator shaft, but I just kind of moved it along. Was the wax, the paraffin wax on Nina and Jesper's arms?
Yeah, I agree with that.
I was
which
like,
we don't know what it looks like. We don't know if it blends into the skin. We don't.
Well, but okay, and to make it like a larger point, so I'm not just harping on it. The plot conveniences I think would have been solved just by letting us in a little bit, giving us like 10% of the plan. If we had some nod to the fact that they had paraffin wax, if there was some like even really vague mention of any of the conveniences prior to them happening, I think it would have been a lot more satisfying and a lot less like jarring. Like, oh, but wait, why? What? Huh?
Even something as far as long as like, oh, we know they're going to be checking for Grisha. How are we getting past that? And Kaz can say, oh, I've got a plan. Like they don't have to even mention paraffin wax. But it's just like they get there and they're already ready.
Yeah, because it seems like a lot of the time, like Kaz, it seems like Kaz doesn't have a plan at all. It seems like there is no plan, and they're just going to walk in and wing it. And then a moment of tension comes, and then it's revealed that he did see it coming, and it just feels. I think that's probably the largest issue I have with like the narrative of the book, is that the conveniences weren't like set up.
I could kind of get past all that just because it is a heist. It's a heist show or a heist book, and like that does happen a lot in heist books. Like the heist happens, and then like you see. But I agree.
Knew what was gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah. But as far as like, I think the only other thing I really had a problem with was the Broom, the commander.
Yeah.
Him being alive or whatever, and then them automatically having the plan for the or that was the original plan, but they didn't know he was alive or something like that. Having Matthias like fake double cross, like triple agent it. But overall, like I thought the heist was fun. I enjoyed it. It was fast paced. I drove home yesterday. It was like a 10-hour drive, and I listened to it, and it was really easy to stay awake and listen. And like I said, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the double cross at the end, even though I knew it was going to happen. I liked the way they fixed it as far as like Nina using her powers to change Wyland's face. Even though, again, like it just seems like her powers are just the answer for everything, and it seems like, even though I know she was on Jorda, but still, I enjoyed the part where Kaz like shows his like emotional signs, and looks at an edge, and he loses an edge, and he's about to like, and he's about to bring out the demon to get her back. But overall I enjoyed it. Way better in the first half. Like we could take the first half out. And just say put one chapter of them like, okay, this is the plan, this is what and then But I still wish we had a little bit more like character development. We did see Kaz grow, but you know he's kind of the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. One more plot convenience that, or it wasn't even a convenience. It was a plot inconvenience. The Grisha Steel thing. Did that do anything for y'all? Because when the
I mean, it makes
Fjordans
sense that
came
they
out with the
had.
Grisha Steel, it makes sense that they have a countermeasure to the
Yeah,
Grisha. I was just like, how has this not come up before? Like,
yeah.
at no other point in the imprisonment and enslavement of Grisha has Grisha Steel come up. Like that was a little.
To be fair, there's not supposed to be any Grisha there because usually when they run into Grisha, they just pretty much
Yeah.
fuck him. Yeah,
I,
but
I I legitimately enjoyed the way that she handled the kind of zealotry aspect of the
yeah,
Fjordans. Um, I legitimately liked that. I thought she handled that pretty well in like showing and not telling. She shows you that they're hypocrites without being like, look at these filthy hypocrites.
yeah, yeah. As far as them like you trying to use the Jorda like the addicted um Grisha to do stuff. Yeah, I like that part too, and it's just uh like when he's leading Nina over to there and like he's like playing his part or whatever, the broom guy, Brum, forgot his name.
I think
Um,
it's Brum.
yeah, but you can tell like he's like uh, a really like holier than thou kind of dude, and then you get him in there and he's got all these addicted Grisha and he's using them as weapons and stuff, and then Matthias, who is like was a devout, like believed in what Brum said. He's like, so you basically are like everything you taught me, you're going against. And then
Yeah.
Brum's like trying to spin it. I thought she did handle that really well, and Brum like, or I hope I'm saying his name right. If not, then you know. But I thought he was a decent like villain, like
Yeah. Well, were there any
opposition.
highlights of the heist for you, MD?
Highlights of the heist?
Yeah, anything that like stood out as like good or bad, just stood out.
I mean, not really. Like Dylan was saying, like we saw the betrayal kind of coming. Like we knew it was gonna
Yeah,
happen. Um, I don't know. I enjoyed it because it was like it was very like to me it felt like very fast paced, but I think it's because we've been used to doing a lot of like slow burns. And so I enjoyed that aspect of it, but um like kind of like you were saying like the predictability of a lot of it, while like that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's also like not also a great thing too, you know?
yeah.
And so but yeah, no, I did enjoy it, but it's not like I would definitely put other things on top of this. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
I,
yeah,
I will say there were a lot of decent stuff that I didn't predict though, because I predicted that somebody in the crew was like consciously going to betray them.
Oh yeah.
And then we find out that it was just uh, Jesper accidentally said something, and uh,
yeah.
it
I
got
thought
taken.
that was a little bit less compelling than it could have been if she had explored a betrayal.
I agree. I
Personally,
agree. Um,
I
but
get why she did it.
yeah,
Right, like she probably really liked Jesper as a character and just
well,
wanted to keep him around.
I was gonna say personality wise, it doesn't really make sense for any of them to betray.
Right, yeah.
If they had somebody else in the crew that was a little bit more of a like conniving guy or whatever, even if it's like you know just little things she puts in there where you see instead of like it actually telling you,
Yeah.
it would make more sense. But Jesper's like actually seem like he's okay with like killing and shit, but it actually seems like he's one of the more moral people of the crew.
Yeah.
Mm,
At least I got
yeah.
that vibe. I don't know if y'all did.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't want to kill anyone just for the sake of being like cruel. Um,
Yeah,
but I don't really think that any of them did. Um, Kaz is just kind of apathetic and like indifferent to it. Um, but Inej, I think, is probably bothered by it. Nina is definitely bothered by it. Um, Matthias is, still he's still a zealot a little bit.
yeah.
Um, So I think he could probably justify it, but again, I don't think he's like excited about killing. And then Wylan is like green and
Yeah.
kind of, you know.
But
Yeah.
I really feel like we saw some growth from him too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Especially like tricking his dad.
Yeah, which I thought the he can't read thing. I was like, I feel like you could have come up with a better reason for him to hate his son, even if it's shallow. Because like the whole idea, right, is that he's like a wealthy merchant, materialistic. Like, it can be a shallow reason. I just thought the can't read thing was a little weird. But the letters being a way of mocking him, I legitimately thought was cool.
Yeah, I like that. I thought that was something. I don't know if I've seen that in a book before. Some like using what they can't do. Well, I mean, I'm sure I have using something they can't do to mock them, but not like that, like letters. Because like we thought he actually wanted his son back.
Yeah.
Something else I didn't see coming was Kaz letting Pekka go.
That one bugged me a little. Whose blood was on his shirt? Whose blood was on his shirt?
That and how did Pekka get out?
Yeah. The prison scene was the most plot holy part of it for me. And again, this was a situation where I was sitting at home just listening to the book and not doing anything else, just taking notes on it. So I got lost. I've been lost in the sauce this whole book. Try not to say offhand negative things, but yeah, so in the first prison scene, he attacks that guy in the cell through the bars. The guy is in the other cell.
No, the guy's in the cell with him, pushes him through the bars.
Pretty sure it says after the fact that he's in the cell with him, because he pulls him through the bars and dislocates his shoulder.
So the guy comes for him, and he like does his shit and puts his arm through the bar, and then he pushes his body so the arm dislocates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then when they're gallivanting around the prison, yeah, some of that stuff didn't really make that much sense. But it was pretty easy to overlook.
Yeah. Something else that's easy to overlook, but it's like something that like I noticed, because I noticed little shit like this, but it's like Kaz gets around really well for a gimp.
Yeah,
like
he
really
doesn't
well.
have his cane, and he's just like sprinting around the prison.
Yeah. Kind of like one thing for me that I didn't like, and maybe this is just because like I'm always like I want character death, was whenever Kaz drowns, that they just bring him back like in the very next chapter. Like
again, though, I feel like that goes into Nina's power. Like I feel like Nina's powers, like she was way more powerful than she should be.
Yeah.
I feel like it was just an easy out. It's like, oh, we're running into guards. Nina can just snap their necks with a twist of her hand. Oh, we need information. Nina can just get it out. Oh, we died. Nina can just massage a heart and bring him back to life.
I don't know. I just, as much as
like the Jordan, I understand. Like when she controls everybody, we see that mirrors the very first chapter. I'm 100% cool with that because we understand how powerful the Jordan or the Pyrim is, and like I said, it mirrors the first chapter of what she can do and all that. But it's just like throughout the entire heist, it just seems like she's like super powerful.
Yeah, I don't know. I just always like character death because it feels like there's stakes on the line.
I do too. Yeah.
And so like whenever I read like that, like he opened his mouth and the water rushed in, like he's drowning, I was like, oh, this is actually consequences are happening, and then nothing really happened with it. I was like, well, okay.
Yeah. I mean, Kaz probably wasn't the character I would have picked to die, but
no.
Well, I thought low-key when I read that because like this, like I said at the beginning, like I feel like this whole story was about Inej finding like herself basically, and so I thought Kaz's death was going to be like a true defining moment, and I was like, oh
yeah,
dang.
Well,
and so,
okay, can we talk about the so like there's a romance between all 6 of the characters, right?
Basically, yeah.
So I just want to go through those because I think start with the good one. I think Kaz and Inej by the end of it was pretty well written.
Yeah.
It made sense. Inej had agency and had, come to know herself, and Kaz realized that
what he
he
wanted,
was
and yeah,
Right.
right, and he
let
was
himself
losing
admit.
her.
Yeah,
He was losing her because because his priorities weren't in line with what would
yeah.
what would really make him happy or whatever. I thought they were pretty well written. Where y'all at on them?
I agree. I really like the relationship between Inej and Kaz. I like the fact that he asked her to stay, and she said no because she still wanted him to uh,
She
come
said, "I'll
out
have you without armor or not at all,"
exactly. And I
which
thought that
I
was
thought was
yeah.
pretty well put.
I thought that was well put too, and I
Yeah.
like that it wasn't just easy for him. Like the first thing he says is, stay, and she's like, no, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I liked it because like at the beginning of the book, like Kaz was willing to risk his life and Inej's life for like his stakes in the Fifth Harbor or whatever, and then by the end of the book, he's like trading it just for the chance at getting Inej back. It's like
yeah,
very clearly like
his priorities have he's
his
realized his
priorities
priorities.
shifted, they've changed, and the relationship has grown over the course of this book. I feel like that was the most like authentic. You know what I'm saying?
Which
Yeah,
is really good character growth.
Oh
I
yeah.
just wish we had more to
More
go
of that,
on
yeah.
from the
It's
first
like
three
Kaz and
parts.
Inesh's character growth throughout this book were like the prime focus, and
Yeah.
everyone else I just felt like was kind of stale.
Yeah, and she wants to become a sailor to go get capture slavers because
capture
that's what.
slavers. I mean, that's a book I would probably read. Honestly,
Yeah,
that sounds
Yeah.
interesting. I like pirate books. I like heist
Yeah.
books too. But
Shard was
Well,
fine.
see, and that would be so. Another cool part of that to me is like if Kaz gives up everything to go with her and do what she wants, him being on the ship too would be really cool. I'm just wondering like where all this was in the first three parts.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I think if
Yeah.
you make those first three parts, well, no, just make those first three parts more fleshed out about characters and stuff. This would be a really good book.
Yeah, because it's
I
like
mean,
now,
I think it would be a fine book if
Yeah,
you
well, I
fleshed
mean-
out some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like a 6.5, 7 total.
Yeah, I could see between like a 5 and a 6. I don't. It's all subjective. Like, who cares?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
some people are
Dylan
gonna
will-
enjoy it.
I think it
and
would
it's
be-
not
I think it
fine,
would-
but-
slower than us, so yeah.
But but like I said, I really enjoyed this last part 6. There were a couple inconsistencies, but it's stuff that I can look over.
Yeah, I think with the context of like walking into it and knowing it's a YA book, it's a little easier to look over some of that stuff. But it's just generally harder for me to forgive poor character development and like inconsistent
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah.
And I think the first half of the book was a lot worse about that stuff
Yeah.
than the second half.
Well, and kind of like to put like, I think my thoughts on it. It's like Kaz and Inej, I don't think was that bad of a job of like character growth and development, but I think because there were so many other people involved that it felt like it was a lot worse than it actually was. Because like for me, my focus was on Kaz and Inej most of this book. I didn't really care about the other people, kind of like we talked about, like because we didn't
I agree
have
with
a
that.
reason to.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I feel like when I'm gonna probably rank characters, I'm more so just ranking Kaz and Inej because like they're the ones I actually felt attached to, I guess.
Well, by the end of the book, I really liked Jesper, and I said in our last video that I thought I would really like Jesper because I thought he was going to be the comedic relief and the loose cannon, and those are characters that I usually like a lot, like the Sanzas.
Yeah.
Those are characters I usually love in books, and by the end, I think he did kind of get to that spot. But he still didn't really get a lot of the comedic relief, except in the scenes with him.
I feel like he
Milo.
needed a little more.
I think just screen time. I think just pages devoted.
Because
to
like,
him.
did it ever explain why he's like so addicted to gambling?
It's the adrenaline rush. Yeah, dude has ADHD. That's
That's
all
just
it is.
what it is, yeah.
Yeah. Which that leads me to the second romance I want to talk about because it's the one that I'm still fairly positive on. Jesper and Wylan seems like they're flirting with each other. You know,
They are. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just I don't know. At first when it got revealed that Jesper was gay, I was a little off put because not because I have to give a shit that he's gay, but like it just felt a little cheap and like let me grab the gay audience real
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
But then she developed it, and it got a lot better and a
Yeah.
lot more tasteful.
So I saw it coming because like when they're in the harbor or whatever, and the ship blows up, he makes like an offhand comment to Wylan about kissing him or something while they're running
Oh,
away.
really? Okay,
Yeah,
I missed that.
I forgot what he said, but maybe it's after I don't know, but it's something like he is very flirty towards Wylan throughout.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
just, the way dudes talk shit to each other sometimes is like almost
Yeah.
flirtatious. So it was
Yeah.
like, it just seemed like he was being buddy to me.
Yeah. Have you ever
Um,
played video games with me? I
yeah,
talk up my boys.
Sussy. But yeah, by the end of the book, I thought that was that she had handled that pretty well.
Yeah.
It wasn't like tasteless and crass. It was like, oh no, these are just two humans, and like they're like in the early stages of like flirting with each other and feeling this out.
Yeah.
And, like whatever.
It's like they're in the awkward stage of romance.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's
like, what
that
really-
might be why it feels awkward at first, kind of.
Yeah, what really turned it for me was because, like you said, I felt it was just a cheap let's throw in a gay character. But when Wylan or Jesper says something along the lines of like it'll impress the girls, and Wylan's like
Not
girls?
just the girls.
Yeah, and that part really turned it for me because you can see like he's like feeling him out, seeing where he's at, and then Jesper's like pretty open about it. But
Yeah, and then Wyland's like nervous, but he's still kind of there for it, and it's like,
Yeah.
I thought the way that she handled that was actually pretty good. But if that's settled, can we move on to the third romance?
Yeah.
Whoa. I've got problems with this shit.
Take it away.
Why the hell are this book is marketed to young adults, right?
Right.
Teenagers. And
Characters are teenagers. Yeah.
people going into their 20s, I guess, but teenagers. And Nina and Matthias is just the whole point, the whole theme is you can change him. And I don't think that that's super healthy to be like,
so
I'll
say what I think about it.
advocating for. Go for it.
They started off as enemies. They're literally their two countries are absolutely against each other. They've grown up hating each other. Like it makes sense for them to hate each other. Well, then they get to this point where they have to rely on each other, and that builds bonds. They can flirt a little bit. My problem's the time frame, really, because I think
Yeah,
that
it's very short.
I think that they can come together, and then when she betrays him, he's like, okay, everything that I heard about Grisha was right, and he hates her. But then he can't get over the feeling that he actually loves, or that he had that love for her, and he's at war with himself. I understand that completely. Like, I don't have a problem with that. It just seems like he's very wishy-washy with it. And it's like,
and the larger problem for me is Nina being okay with him. Like, he's an abusive asshole to her for most of the book. And not abusive in like he's dismissive of her, doesn't take her, whatever. He's literally abusive. He is like at best emotionally abusive and several times physically abusive, and she's just like, oh, I'm eating this shit up. I want to kiss him so bad. Like,
yeah, I feel like the which this goes back into the mainly the first three parts, but like when they're like sitting there and like hating it, or he hates her and all this other stuff, and they're like, oh, but I want to kiss her. Yeah, I feel like that's really I feel like that was kind of poorly done. Like, I think you can like outwardly show like be angry and act like you hate somebody and really be attracted to them or whatever, but the way it was written was kind of But I don't know. I feel like the relationship makes sense to an extent because they did rely on each other. It's just like,
I'm not saying that I haven't seen this in the real world 1,000 times. I'm just saying it's not the greatest message to send to a bunch of kids.
I'll get on board with Wits and Strain with that.
Yeah, but I
Because
mean,
it's a
And
I
I
don't
lot.
mean,
know.
and then you get into like, is the author responsible for like, what
Oh
morality
no,
someone
yeah.
infers from,
Definitely not.
you get into
Yeah.
all that
Yeah. No,
soup, but
it definitely does kind of
you
give
know,
those vibes of like the toxic relationship status.
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm looking at it from a
and
realistic standpoint, though. Like realistically, like
yeah, I mean, people are gonna see these kinds of relationships
Oh, for
around
sure.
them, if not experience them, but
well, just in a
I just,
fantasy setting. Like I'm not even talking in a real world setting, because like real world setting, everything's everything goes pretty much. But
yeah.
uh, in a fantasy setting, like this is something that I feel like is in a lot of fantasy, as far as like they start out as enemies and then they get into a life or death situation where they've got to rely on each other, and then a romance blooms.
Yeah.
My problem
Yeah.
again is the time frame they spent together, and it being that strong of a bond. I feel like it should take
Yeah.
more time. Which, granted, and
I
she
think
did
life or
wait.
death, like that part doesn't bug me as much because like life or
Yeah,
death situation, like intense scenarios are gonna like make any emotions around the scenario more intense. I would
yeah.
think.
But I mean, she also spent a year waiting on him,
Yeah,
trying to get him out. But that was more of a her feeling guilty thing.
yeah, that
And
was like
then,
shame motivated.
to me, the relationship seems less like a relationship and more like lust. Like it just seems very lust,
Yeah,
which is fine. Do your thing.
toxic relationships in the real world typically have that element going for them too.
Yeah,
Uh, that's
yeah. I'm fine with that, but it's like him going from like I don't know. Like I said, he feels really wishy washy. Like he'll go from like still mad at her at multiple points, and then at the end he's like vowing to give his life for hers.
yeah. He says the Drew Scala vow for her instead of
Yeah.
Fjorda. But okay, that's my diatribe. I thought two out of three romances were like decently handled,
Yeah.
and pretty well explored. Um, what else we did the ending? We should probably talk about the ending
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have very different opinions of the ending.
Okay.
MD, you want to start off?
I mean, I kind of already gave mine. Like, I thought, like, at the end of part 5 that the ending was going in a completely different way. I was like, oh, she actually killed a character. Like, Kaz is dead. This story is actually about Inej and, like, what's going to be next for her. And Kaz comes back, and I was just kind of like, okay. And then Inej gets kidnapped or whatever, and I'm like, okay. Yeah, that's like, I didn't see it coming, but not in like the good, like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Like, I just didn't see that coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought it was
Yeah,
going in a
yeah.
completely different direction, and I was kind of disappointed that it went in that direction. But I mean, it set itself up for another book.
Yeah.
As far as like, I don't feel like it. I feel like you could have made this book a little bit longer, and you wouldn't need another book. But if you're going to set up another book, I like the way they did it, because I think it's going to make. I think we're going to see a lot more growth from Kaz. Have to. I think he's going to have to like get like he's on his like dark path right now, and then like he's going to like save her, but she's not going to like who he is when he saves her or something, and he's going to have to grow a lot more. I think that set it up really good. I like the fact that there's like a lot more real stakes on the line as far as Inej's life. I like the fact that we didn't cheap out and just lose our revenge against Pekka, because I think in the next book, I think part of it's going to be him getting Inej back, and then I think Pekka's going to have some involvement in it, and that's going to fuck Kaz over, and he's going to go against Pekka. I think the main. I don't think Van Eck and Kaz is going to be the main
I
fight.
don't think Vanek's going to be the antagonist of the next
Right.
book.
I think Pekka is going to end up being the antagonist, which I like. If she does it that way, I hope she does.
I would prefer it that way personally.
I do too, because I think Van Eck, like, as much money as he has, and as probably as smart as he thinks he is, he's not a part of their world. And like this whole book set up Kaz's revenge against Pekka.
Pekka Rollins. Yeah.
I would really like to see Pekka be the main antagonist, even if he like. And we see it there at the end too. We see him saying like, "I hope Van Eck kills him, because if not, I'm going to have to." I really think something's going to happen, and like maybe Pekka gets a hold of Inej, or Pekka gets a hold of the kid or the silver or something, and they go against Pekka, which I would like. I think Van Eck trying to take control of like the merch council makes sense. Like he's power hungry. The betrayal makes sense.
I think the betrayal makes a little too much sense. If you know what I mean, like it was
Yeah, but
hard
I think
to
it.
not
I think
see
it.
it coming.
Right. I think it had to happen. Like
Yeah,
I even said in the first or in the last time, I was like, I don't think Van Eck's going to actually pay him. I think my biggest problem with it is the fact that the kid doesn't actually know how to make the shit. Like he says he has kind of an idea, but like he doesn't actually know how to make the power.
I mean, he's a lot closer than anybody else is to it.
Right.
And he's been working with his dad on it the whole time. I didn't really have a problem with that. With what's his name? What was his name? The chemist.
Balor is the.
Oh yeah, I didn't have a problem with any of that stuff. And I've been pretty nitpicky about the whole book, but like that one didn't really bug me that much.
Well, I mean, I thought it made sense that
that he was developing it to like help his son hide his powers.
Yeah, I like that they explained why he developed it.
Right. Yeah. And they left room for him to still be like morally upright while creating this like terrible drug.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I didn't hate a lot of the parts of the ending. What I didn't really like, I thought that she could have just cut it after Inej gets taken, and it would have been a lot more impactful. Because the last
chapter.
Yeah, the last chapter with Pekka to me was just like, ooh, he pickpocketed me. He's dangerous. Look out for him. Like, it was very eye-rolly, like, YA to me.
But like I said, I'm hoping that sets up for...
Oh, I get why she did it.
I'm hoping like that one line where it's like, I hope Van Eck kills him because if not, I'm going to have to, is setting up for Pekka being the...
Yeah. I just think that the, like, emotional stakes were, like, at an all-time high for the book after Inej gets nabbed.
Yeah.
So I think that would have been a more like impactful place to just like hard stop.
Yeah.
Like Matt said though, like it used that chapter also to show how much Inej means to him at this point.
It shows how much that Kaz changed through it.
Well, he literally gives away everything that he worked for years to obtain.
Yeah.
Like he gives everything that he's worked for away just for a chance
at saving her,
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought the pickpocketing thing where he like stole the pendant and the buckles off his shoes and his watch.
Well, he still hates him. Like it's kind of like
I know he hates him, but
small victories, you know.
Yeah, after the fourth thing that he listed, though, I was just like, "Oh, come on!" Really?
I like everything but the buckles on the shoes.
Yeah, the buckles on the shoes don't make any sense. When did he bend down? How did he get down there?
Yeah.
Also, the pendant on his chest, like, okay, because there are pickpocketing scenes all the way through Liza Lamora, all the way through Gentlemen Bastards, and those are some of my favorite scenes. They're always funny, but it always gives you a nod to, like, it kind of explains it. It doesn't, like, completely explain it. Like, there's still some, like, mystery to it, but it's like, oh, tapped him on the shoulder and took his kerchief, like, and it just makes sense. Like
it did with Inej when she took the necklace.
Yeah.
Which again was a good scene for me. I liked that part because I really thought
Inej the whole menagerie thing was
I thought Inej was in trouble. Like I didn't think that was part of the plan.
I did think it was a little stupid that the menagerie people were there with no explanation for why. Like, I mean,
no,
I get that they're prostitutes, but like you couldn't find prostitutes not 3 weeks away from where you live.
It said in the first
in a fantasy world.
It said in the first part that the Ketterdam like prostitutes are like some of the best in the world, and that the menagerie specifically goes to this party every time they have it.
Oh, okay. I guess I just moved past that part, but
it was
fair
in the
enough.
first part.
No.
Yeah. To be fair, like I really wish that first part was written better because this would have been a book that I would probably. Which I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. Like I said, it was entertaining. It was entertaining.
I really enjoyed the premise of it.
I did too, and I think that's my biggest problem with it is the fact that I feel like it could be so much better with the magic system, the world, the characters. Like I really feel like it could have been like a really good book, and it's kind of mid.
Yeah. Not that it's bad or anything. Like,
No, no,
I
I
enjoyed
mean,
it. Yeah.
uh,
I definitely couldn't do better, but I know that better does exist.
I don't know if I would necessarily recommend it.
Right.
Like if somebody's like, "Hey, I just got this book. You think is it any good?" I'd be like, "Yeah, man, it's worth reading."
Yeah.
But like as far as like, "Hey, man, like read this book," I don't know if I'd recommend it.
Yeah.
But like if you're just looking for something to read and like you just like happen across it in the store or something, yeah, pick it up, read it.
It's a good book. So do
Well,
we
hopefully
wanna...
anybody listening to this right now has actually read the book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I just mean like
they're probably
Yeah.
fuming at us like Whitson doesn't know what he's talking about.
Did you get any comments
that's
on
fine.
that TikTok you made?
No, I didn't. That one actually did not get even a third as many views as the Wheel of Time one that I did right before it, which was funny.
Do we want to go into our ratings?
Sure, I'm ready if y'all are.
Yeah,
Does anybody have anything else to say about it first, though? Or
I mean, we
I'm
kind of
good.
it's
We covered
mostly
everything.
the heist, the double
Yeah.
cross, and the epilogue scene,
Yeah.
the outro scene.
I thought the tanks were a little.
That was a little goofy, but I mean,
Yeah.
I was fine with that though. I
Yeah,
was
it
like,
was fine with it, too.
I was kind of giggling at that, like, oh come on, you got tanks now? We've got tanks.
Yeah.
We're just blowing through walls and shit.
That's something else. Like going into like the guns, talking about how like the guns were a little like I'm imagining like muskets and shit, and they're talking about how they're sliding back the.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
no, they have like I don't know, like 1800s style, like the pistols. They're not like flintlocks. They're like they have a hammer, and they're like revolvers, right?
I know at one point I believe
That's what I imagined.
I know at one point I think it said he cocked the slide back. It's like so. I'm pretty
I
sure.
didn't notice that.
I'm pretty sure, but again, this I don't know. It's easy stuff to slide past. But like even tanks, and they're talking about how they got like miniguns on top of the tank or something.
Yeah, that
like.
So are they in the early like 1900s? Like, why aren't they on a steamboat? I feel like if they're on a steamboat,
That's what I'm saying.
Then that
Like,
stuff makes sense a little bit more.
The world doesn't make sense to me because
Yeah.
Like we're time periods, like people are still using swords, but we got weapons that have slides and clips. And
It's a fantasy world. It's not supposed to make sense. No, I'm joking.
But we're still on sailboats. And yeah.
As always, we're gonna go ahead and rank on our 3 categories of character, setting, and plot. Kind of self-explanatory. We do kind of group world building into setting. So, but yeah, we'll start off with character. Who wants to go first?
Whitson, you go ahead.
Do you want to? Okay. Oh gosh. I think for character, I've got to give it like a 3 out of 10. It's not a 0 or a 1, but like wasn't good to me. Kaz was okay by the end, but it took him until the end to get there to me. Inej was always kind of fine, but not like a spectacular character. Nina had funny moments, but I really didn't think that the rest of her story, like, it made sense for her to be the comedic relief character. I didn't really get that. Matthias is nothing. Like, I don't know. Maybe somebody out there, he's their favorite character, and they're just like, "How dare you?" But yeah, he's a religious zealot, and he loves Nina, and that's it. Wylan, I could definitely see Wylan getting a lot of development in the next book because there's potential there. And Jesper, same thing. There's potential there, but like largely unrealized to me. So yeah, I'm all right with 1 out of the 6 characters and like kind of optimistic for 2 of them, and then just 3 out of 10.
Yeah. I think I'll give characters like a 4.5 out of 10. I really, I mean, I said it from the beginning. I really have enjoyed Inej's and Kaz's like development. I feel like that was the highlight of the book for me, was just the story of them. but yeah, like the other characters, I just kind of felt like were very stale throughout most of the book. But I think Kaz and Inez just kind of makes up for that. So it's not bad, but it's also not great. You know what I'm saying? So it's 4.5. That's what I say.
I really like Kaz. I like how it explains why he wears his gloves. You know, his brother died from that sickness, and he was surrounded by dead bodies, and they were piled on top of him, and he just like he doesn't like to touch skin now because, you know, PTSD basically. Which we didn't really talk about that, but I like Annette. I like what the characters could be. I just don't feel like we got to see what they could be in this book for the most part. But I think there's a lot of potential, and like I feel like if you like rewrote this book with a lot more details, it'd be a lot better.
I think if you rewrote it for an adult audience.
Yes. Well, like
Yeah.
we were talking about last time, I think she was trying to like cater more to YA, and but they probably have less or
It
worse
really,
attention
really,
spans.
Yeah, they
it-
have smaller attention spans. They're not as nitpicky about details. You know.
Well, and suspension of disbelief comes a lot easier
true.
to teenagers, I would say, because I read some books that I now like.
Yeah.
Dude, imagine us
yeah.
going back and reading
No.
Cherub. Yeah, right. Like.
Oh yeah, no. And you want to talk about toxic relationships in
Oh,
YA
facts.
books? Holy
Facts.
shit!
Yeah.
But
I forgot about
so
those books.
I read like in our we're from a tiny town with a shitty library with no selection, and then our high school also had a tiny shitty library with no selection. We got desperate. I read Anne Rice books. I read Interview with a Vampire. Like that book was not made for me. I'm not saying it's a bad book, but that book was not made for me. Yeah. So
Yeah.
teenagers, I think, get into stuff a lot easier.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna give it a 4, but I do see a lot of potential for growth. Like I said, I like the characters. I like what they could be. It's just I want to see more.
Yeah.
Probably give it
Want to go into setting next? I'll start this one off so Whitson doesn't have to. I think setting. We said like in the beginning of the book it was just kind of bad. It got better towards the end, but there's still like a lot of like stuff with it. Like we were saying, like when is this time period? Like there's tanks and miniguns, like, but also like what? So like I feel like it wasn't like a main focus of things we're gonna flesh out in this book, and so it was definitely a weaker point. But it also wasn't horrible. So I think I'm just gonna stick with my 4.5. Like I feel like it's a solid number for both character and setting here.
I liked a couple of the descriptions. I like the world building. Like I said, I like the magic system, the concept of it. I like Ketterdam as a place. I like the ice prison as a place. Like, I don't feel like it was described as well as it could be. Again, I see potential, but it's just not all fleshed out. And I feel like that's a lot of this book. Like, I really feel like, I know I said this last time, but like I feel like if like she sent this to her editor as like a first draft or whatever, and they were like, okay, this is great bones. Like this book has good bones. Yeah. It's just like, you know, let's build a house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm probably just gonna put it. I'm probably just gonna give it a 5. Put it right in the middle, and just say, because I do like I like the world building decent amount.
Yeah. What about you, Whitson?
Setting 2 out of 10. I mean, there's 2 locations in the book. We don't see anything in between. Only one of the 2 locations is described in any detail. I mean,
does that include world building?
I mean, we know about Riva and like the Second Army thing. I mean, what else do we know is going on? Really,
I just mean like as far as like the magic system and like Ketterdam and like.
I guess, but
I mean, I know the descriptions aren't there. The descriptions are not.
Right.
But like,
yeah.
What you?
I mean, that's my largest problem with it is, and
it's hard to imagine.
Well, it's not my largest problem with the book as a whole, but like my largest problem with the setting is, it was so hard for me to ever engage with it because I couldn't imagine anything.
Yeah.
And like the thing I love about books, the feeling I love the most when I'm reading a book is when I like stop being aware that I'm looking at
Page. Yeah.
words on a page,
Yep.
and I never had that feeling with this book. So yeah, it's like a 2 out of 10 for me.
All right, and I think that's the lowest we've ever had something rated. Is a 2 out of 10. We'll see if Whitson beats it with plot. Dylan, you take this one first.
Plot was the only thing that I felt like was actually halfway decent in the book.
Yeah.
And again, like not the first, like if I'm just rating the last half, it's not bad, but I gave the first one a 4, the second one a 5. I'll just give plot a 6 because I did enjoy the heist. I enjoyed the plot of the heist. Like I like that they're trying to get the maker of this drug. I like that. I get a 6.5.
Okay.
By Whitson.
Fair enough. I think I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10 because like it's not the plot's not horrible. It meanders a little bit sometimes. And the conveniences kill me. Give me a red herring, a little bit of foreshadowing every once in a while. But that said, the plot was not like bad.
Yeah.
It was just like a little below average to me. So 4.
I really like the premise. I think Dylan hit the nail on the head when he said like it feels like this was the bones of something that could have been better. But the plot itself, like the bones of the plot, I thought were really good. I just thought there were things like Kaz's death that I would have hoped would have been different. But needless to say, like it's not bad. Like I really did enjoy the plot. Like it was very fast paced, especially during the heist itself. Like it was like boom, boom, boom. I felt like a lot, and so, I think I'll give it like. I'm really split between like a 6 and a 5.5, so I'm just gonna go 5.7 and call it a day, because it's like, it's good, it's better than average, I feel like, but it could have been so much more. So
yeah, I think that's this whole book for me.
Yeah,
like, it could have been more.
Well, I think we kind of just want it to be like Gentlemen Bastards. Like to me, it
Yeah.
just feels like a cheap.
Well, not even that though.
Bastard.
Not even that. Like
Well, with some
really,
more romance, but
I really kept like those two books split. But like just as far as like a book in general, like I feel like it's like it's a base layer, and like if you added more on top of it, it'd be really good.
yeah. I mean,
Like-
I'm one of those people who can like I reread books constantly. If there's nothing on my TBR that I'm excited about, I'll just go back and reread. So sometimes it's really hard for me, like, or a comfort food or a favorite movie or whatever. Like I can go back to something a trillion times if I love it. So even when there's not like something else eating up the time and like taking up my to-do list, I still end up comparing things to what I could be doing, or could be reading,
Yeah.
or could be watching.
in economics, that's called an opportunity cost.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's the one
and
thing I learned.
that probably doesn't always serve me, but yeah, like Liza Locklmora was definitely on my mind while reading this book.
See, I do so much, like, between audiobooks and actual reading. I do so much reading that, especially audiobooks when I'm at work, it's so easy for me to just, because like if I don't have anything on TBR, like I'll just jump on suggested and just get one and listen to it. And which I have a really good imagination, so I can listen to bad books and just kind of make my own like
And
world
fill
of
in the gaps.
and
Yeah.
fill in the gaps. Especially like because it's kind of like it's just going on, and I can just kind of like when I'm welding my hoods down, and I'm just like I'm in my own little world, and so like it's really easy for me to like take. I'm almost like creating a book in my head with a bad book because it's like giving me shit to think about, and then I'm like you said, I'm filling the rest in, and so like I don't mind like books that have a lot of like I can put up with them a lot easier, but like I said, this one just seems like I had to pay a lot more attention to it because we're doing this podcast, and it just seems like I said like bare bones. Like it could be a lot better.
Yeah.
Any final closing thoughts as we wrap up Six of Crows?
I am so stoked for the Black Prism. I listened to chapter 1 this morning, and oh my gosh, I am excited.
We'll get that episode out tomorrow from this day's release. So this should release on the 31st, and that'll come out on the 1st. So
yeah, see you tomorrow.
I'm also very excited about that. Yeah. But yeah, so it's a good announcement. Again, next month we're doing the Black Prism by Brent Weeks, right? So if you want to get it, read chapter 1 with us, and you can read along with us. Make sure you share, like, subscribe, follow.
TBR updates.
TBRs.
What you got going on, Dylan?
I'm on the 3rd book of the what's that series? Malice.
Ruin.
Is it?
Yeah, the 3rd book's Ruin. Yeah, okay. Faithless and the Fallen. It's Malice, Valor, Ruin, and then Wrath.
Wrath, yeah.
And I'm like halfway through Ruin, and I'm really enjoying it. The 2nd book, like, it was hard for me to put down. The 1st book, there's a little bit of like, it's kind of weird because it's like, normally books will just have like certain characters they follow, even if it's multiple characters. And this one does that. This series does that to an extent. Like, it does have certain characters you follow, but then every now and then you'll get a random POV from somebody, and like, it's kind of like really easy. It was really easy in the 1st book to kind of just like ignore some of those POVs, especially because like things happen in the 1st book, and in the 2nd book where it's like they don't, like, it's just like it didn't really seem like they matter. And then, but the 2nd book does a whole lot better of like everything kind of matters. And it's like really like it's action packed, but also like got some depth to it. I'm really enjoying it. The 3rd book so far is pretty good, but like I said, the 2nd book like was really good.
That's dope. What about you, Whitson? What's on yours?
So I'm reading 3 right. Well, okay, I haven't started 1, but I'm starting it tomorrow, and that's Academ's Fury, second book in Codex Alera. Loved the 1st one. I honestly don't know if it's gonna be as good because of what I loved about the 1st one. Largely the characters and the setting, and all of those things change in the 2nd book. So apprehensive, but looking forward to it. Still slowly getting through Dragon Reborn, just listening to it on the way to work and back mostly, or like if I catch like an hour where I'm just gonna like stand there and chop some vegetables, I'll pop an earbud in. So that one's gonna take me a minute. And then I wanted to talk about Sinlin Ascends, because Dylan over here, I was texting him as I was reading the opening pages, literally having a panic attack. Like, my wife wasn't at home. She had gone across town to meet up with some people from her cohort. And him, no spoilers, but yeah, legitimate panic attack over where's my wife? Is she safe? Did she have a car crash driving across town? Will I ever see her again? Like, I'm only like 60 pages in, but it's really well written so far.
I really enjoyed it. I need to read the 2nd book. I don't know why I haven't, because I did enjoy the 1st one. It's a little slow. It seems like, but not at the same time. It's in a weird spot for me because it's like it's not slow, but it's like it's got like slow vibes, if that makes sense.
It's had some really funny moments, like legitimately like cackle at the book moments. And like I said, I'm only like 60 pages in, so I'm gonna keep on reading it.
Nice. My TBR. So I legitimately sat down today and like wrote out, okay, these are my priority book reads, and so I'm going to finish The Great Hunt, and I'm going to finish that this week. That is my goal in life, is to finish that book this week. It's up on my bookshelf. I'm not going to stand up and pull it down. And then after The Great Hunt, I'm either going to crack open Mistborn, or I'm going to crack open Furies of Calderon, because Whitson's been hyping it up. And I've had it on my bookshelf for legitimately 6 years, and I've just never cracked it open. So either Mistborn or Furies of Calderon. But a random side note, because we're all book nerds here and I want to brag, my local bookstore was doing a like penny per page used book sale. And so I got 5 Wheel of Time books. They're like the last 5 in the series for like $25. Biggest steal of my life right there. And I just wanted to brag about that because everyone out there is, if you know, you know. Like, those aren't
I think
cheap.
You got the good cover art too.
I did.
I think I'm gonna try to finish the Great Hunt before the series.
That's my goal. That's my goal. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
we could do a like a Patreon episode or something where we like go
Yeah.
through the first 2 seasons once we've both.
Well,
once
like
we've
I
all
said,
read
like I
Great
was
Hunt.
saying about like TBR's doing just a YouTube video about the book in general, and basically doing a book talk and like what we
Yeah.
liked about it. I like to
Dude.
do that.
Wait, and Whitson, you still haven't seen the TV show yet, right?
No, none of it.
Okay.
Not an episode.
We can
You're
do like
not
a
allowed
walk.
to. You're not allowed to. I want to watch you watch the first episode, and I need your commentary. Let us know down in the comments if that's something you want to, because I desperately
Am I gonna
need
be
it.
mad at it, or
Yes.
I'm not gonna
happy
say
with it?
anything.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
saying anything. I just want
Okay.
to hear you talk at
What,
the
like
TV.
they're just not even in the 2 rivers, or like the merge
We'll
all
see.
looks stupid, or
You'll see.
like
You'll see. I don't even care if I don't get to watch the rest of the series with you. I just want to watch the
Moraine is
first
wearing
episode.
red.
Like, but yeah. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Make sure you share, like, subscribe, or follow the podcast on your preferred platform. We're on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. As always, we have our Discord link in the description of the YouTube video that you can join, discuss with us, have fun, chat, vibe. It's what we do. And yeah, make sure you drop a comment in the YouTube for a fantasy question, so that way we can answer them because we run out of ideas. But yeah, with all that being said, thank you all for watching, and we will see you all in the next one.
Peace.